Do you consider yourself the type of traveller who feels like you've been there and done that? Or you're looking for more immersive experiences as opposed to those who literally skim across the top, capturing only the highlights? If this sounds like your vibe, I can assure you that 100% you are going to love today's episode. Hey, I'm Steph, and I'm obsessed with all things travel, marketing, branding, and helping you stand out from the crowd. In just under 2 years, I went from being a home-based travel agent with zero clue how to make it work in the digital world to launching an international ranking travel podcast and creating an online course to help travel agents in lead generation. Here's one thing I know for sure. There has never in the history of the world been a better time to create the travel business you've always wanted. All you need is an actionable strategy and someone to show you the way. Picture this, we're going to spend the next hour of our time together at the Swim Up Pool Bar where over a cocktail, we deep dive into travel-related topics, mixed with a little classroom training. This show is dedicated to encouraging you to step outside of your comfort zone and into your travel business. I'll show you how I did it and how you can too. Hit subscribe now and let's get into it. If you're a travel agent wanting to onboard your perfect fit clients into your biz, download my free cheat sheet for lead generation systems you can use right now. Head to stephaniemyers.academy/cheat sheet. You're listening to Unplug in Paradise, the podcast. Hi there, welcome back to Unplug in Paradise. My name is Stephanie Myers and I am your travel agent and host. If you're looking for an immersive Australian getaway, one that tantalises all the senses and goes way beyond the typical tourist trail to discover the unknown and most likely the unheard of, if your answer is yes, then I can guarantee that you're in for an absolute treat in today's episode. And if your answer is no, then I hope you find this information valuable and it helps inspire you for your next journey. I'm absolutely thrilled to meet up again with today's special guest. So, what are we waiting for? Let's dive in. Hello, Lisa. A big welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Great to be back.
In today's episode, I have the absolute pleasure of welcoming back to the show Lisa Pagotto from Crooked Compass. In our previous episode together, we uncovered how Lisa's own travel personality has shaped her business and how it continues to evolve throughout the different regions throughout the world. But today, we are here to talk about our very own backyard, the land down under, Australia. But before we begin, Lisa, I'd really like to welcome you first by taking a moment to recognise the generations of the local Aboriginal people of the Bundjalung Nation who have lived in and derived their physical and spiritual needs from the forests, rivers, lakes and streams of this beautiful valley over thousands of years as the traditional owners and custodians of these lands. If you are just joining the podcast and haven't had the chance to listen to our previous episode together, where we deep dive into Crooked Compass as a brand and how it stands out in the market as a really immersive, perspective-changing touring company, then head over to episode 20 because I really feel like it's going to complement this episode. So make sure you head over to episode 20, give it a listen so you can come back here and enjoy the full landscape of what we're about to dive into today. Earlier this year, Lisa and her team had launched a very exciting and brand new touring option to our Australian market. Lisa, would you mind giving us a background into Crooked Compass during your launch here in Australia and what kind of traveller you had in mind when you were designing it?
So with obviously the shifting landscapes that have been presented to us this year, we well, I guess for those who haven't heard the other episode, we normally focus on sending travellers overseas to emerging destinations, places that are a little bit challenging. But with COVID emerging this year and keeping everybody grounded, we expanded to offer our style of touring within our own backyard, so within Australia. And for us, we really wanted to stay true to our ethos and what it is that we deliver when we're operating internationally. And that really is immersive experiences that assist with, further education, perspective shifting, and really getting people to see and experience things that they just didn't know were possible within Australia. So when we started building this product, the traveller that we had in mind was very much the person who has been there, done that, always looking for something new. Obviously, we're restricted at the moment in terms of being able to travel overseas. So really wanting to find those travellers who, perhaps they've done Australia on a surface level, but they're looking for something much deeper and much more rewarding. So we really needed to have that strong educational element, those really deep experiences that will provide that that level of experience that our travellers seek when they travel with us abroad, and ensure that we could deliver that here in Australia as well.
So would it be classified as a new sort of traveller?
Yes and
Lisa?
no. I mean, it's pretty much the same type of traveller as to who we target internationally. However, I think with going through COVID this year, a lot of people have changed the way that they travel. So I do believe that people will now be looking for travel experiences that are a lot more mindful, a lot more rewarding. As opposed to, a lot of people are quite happy just to see as much as they can in as quick as time as possible. And I think because we've had so much time on our hands this year just to think and reflect and to reevaluate what's important to us, we will pick up a new type of traveller who is becoming our type of traveller. And that's a really fantastic position for us to be in, because that's where we've always positioned our brand. It's just the new traveller whose perspective is shifting with how and why they choose to travel.
Well, I really think the new traveller is going to be seriously impressed. I've had a look through of your Australian tours, and absolutely insane. They
Thank
are
you.
incredible.
No, we really do think that the way that we're delivering Australia is completely different to how anybody else is doing it. So we're very proud of what we've created.
Absolutely. I really think that with our domestic market and us being Australians, I think it's been quite desensitizing for us, and I think we've been desensitized for quite some time in the years prior to 2020, where we've often felt like we need to seek new experiences, but we have to jump on a plane and head to the other side of the world to do so. So in a way, it's been quite a good thing that we now have such a strong domestic focus back to Australian soil and really getting deep with what our homeland has to offer us.
That can really only work as a positive. I mean, as Australians, there is still so much that we don't actually know or truly understand about our own history. And, being, effectively forced into only being able to explore our own backyard for the moment, allows us to really further self-educate ourselves and to, as you say, delve deeper and explore further into areas that we perhaps wouldn't consider until, later in life, because Australia is, deemed to be easy to do by yourself.
Yeah. And
to the places that we go to, absolutely not. Good luck trying to do some of them by yourself.
No, that's right. Well, can you outline some of the itineraries that we can look forward to here in Australia and what kind of experiences can be had?
So what I will start with is we'll start up in Queensland. So we've got our Indigenous and Wild Queensland small group tour. And we've got 2 departures for 2021, one in May and one in August. And we start off up in flying into Cairns, and we have a night at Port Douglas at one of the National Geographic unique lodges of the world at the beautiful Thala Beach Nature Reserve Resort. And so staying in beautiful tree houses for that night. Then we head out the next day with our Indigenous guide, where we go out and spend a night in the bush. So we're going out to his home country, and there is this incredible rock artwork out there. We're literally driving into the middle of absolutely nowhere, into the outback, into the bush. And we hike into camp, and there's 450 incredible rock artworks that are 20,000 years old that were actually created by our guides people. So very personal to him. So the passion that comes through with the stories and the, the dream time, bringing all of that to life is incredible. So we have a night where we literally are camping on the top of an escarpment. So we're in proper tents with beds and that sort of thing, no sleeping bags on the floor or anything like that. We've got a beautiful bush shower. All the food is cooked on camp. We've got the didgeridoo at night around the campfire. Plenty of time to go exploring as well. And then the next day we head back to Cairns, but swimming in a few sort of natural waterholes and springs on the way back before we then fly down to Mount Isa and then head out, really out to the outback, out near the Queensland-Northern Territory border, where we go onto a private cattle station, and we spend the next 5 days hiking through the remotes of this cattle station. So, yeah, we're staying in these beautiful bell tents, glamping tents with proper stretcher beds. There's like hide rugs, absolutely beautiful. And it's got all these rustic luxe touches. We've got Epicurean meals that are chef prepared, sundowners every night in a different location. This tour is all about sustainability and, you know, doing it in a luxe kind of way. We also do this exclusive star bed experience where we do spend one night out on the top of a gorgeous escarpment. Under the stars. We take swags up there, leave our bell tents behind for a proper bush camp experience.
Wow,
yeah, it's awesome. And when we go trekking every day, we also carry with us, well, they're not inflated while we're trekking, but we can inflate them if people want to use them, stand-up paddle boards, because there's incredible watering holes and some rivers that we get to. And, you know, if people want to break, we can inflate the sup boards and you can go in for a swim, or if you want to go for a bit of a paddle board, we can do that in the middle of absolutely nowhere. So really, really, really awesome, isolated experiences in just a completely stunning backdrop. And then once we've had our 5 days of hiking out in the wilds, we come back to the cattle station, and we've got both of our departures timed around mustering. So for travellers to actually experience and witness the spectacle of a roundup process, both with moving the livestock, the stockmen on horses, and depending on where they're at in the mustering process, sometimes there's heli mustering taking place as well with the helicopters. So we've got this bridge that's all set up for our groups that we can go and stand on while we watch all of this taking place. And it's, you know, it's something that's iconically Australian, but something that so few people have ever actually had the opportunity to do. So that is our Queensland, one of our Queensland tours, and yeah, certainly one that's really quite special.
And to just outline the extent as to how much detail is in your tours, Lisa, is that you've personally negotiated with the hotel to allow the guests on the tour to be a part of that?
That's for the August departure. So our August departure coincides with Rodeo Week, which is in Mount Isa. And so the hotel we're staying in actually hosts the after party for Rodeo Week. And yeah, that's where we've negotiated with the hotel to allow our guests to be allowed to join that if they wish. Yeah. With all the cowboys. Yeah.
How's that for personal touches?
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, that sounds incredible. And you've got another tour up there.
Yes, we've got our East Arnhem Land and the Wessel Islands. So this is in the Northern Territory, and this one is a yacht charter. So for all those people who love cruising, and I guess more particular, more the expedition style cruising, this is a yacht charter that we've taken. So it's only small, maximum 8 people, so nice, small and intimate. And this is an incredibly remote part of Australia. The Wessel Islands are completely uninhabited. They used to be inhabited by the Indigenous people, but a lot of people haven't even heard of them, let alone know where they are. So it's actually the string of islands that used to connect Australia to Papua New Guinea. And the islands are an incredible part of Australian history, and it's just one of the most pristine, stunning, fascinating places of our country. So we're on board this yacht. We are the only company that have permits to cruise and dock on the Wessel Islands. There's 2 other cruise lines that steam through en route to somewhere else, but they're not actually allowed to dock. They don't have the Indigenous land permits to be able to go onto the islands like we do. Our crew on this ship, on this yacht, are some of the most experienced sailors in this part of Australia. They're incredible storytellers. They're up to the 4th generation of living up in the Wessel Islands on board a boat. They're Spanish mackerel fishermen and fisherwomen when they're not running tourism charters. And they're real true blue Aussies. They're full of character, just the type of people that you want to be taking you through this part of our country. So we've got a private chef on board. So every meal, 3 meals a day, are ocean to plate gourmet foodie experiences. So straight out of the ocean, I know,
Yes.
straight out of the ocean, cooked in front of you. You can even participate if you want. The waters up around East Arnhem Land and the Wessels are some of the best in the world for barramundi fishing, Spanish mackerel for certain parts of the Gulf area. We can go spearfishing, crayfishing, all sorts of things, squidding. All of it's available to our guests, and they can participate as much or as little as they like. East Arnhem Land, it's really known for its raw and untouched beauty, and of course the Indigenous culture as well. And as I mentioned before, the Wessel Islands, they're just so remote. There's literally nobody there apart from a few fishermen and just this incredible natural phenomena. So our trip runs in February, which is wet season, and that's on purpose. We purposely run it in wet season. It really only rains at night and you're asleep by then anyway. But the reason we run it in wet season is because of Mother Nature and that natural phenomena that only happens up there in that part of the year. So think like incredible horizon pools, freshwater pools on top of rocks that you can actually swim in that cascade over into the ocean.
Wow.
So they only flow for 30 days a year when it's wet season. There's rainforests on some of these islands, which is just not what people would think up in this remote part, so close to mainland Australia on these tiny little islands surrounded by turquoise water. There's caves that are filled with traditional rock art. And depending on the tides, you can swim through the caves, or when it's low tides, you can walk through the caves. But just incredible. And there's Indigenous ceremonial locations that are still preserved. So it's just super fascinating. Just coming across waterfalls in the middle of nowhere on these tiny little islands. You get the most incredible lightning storms at night as well, off in the distance, and water spouts. Seeing like 3 or 4 or 5 water spouts like dancing around each other while you sit on the bow of the boat with a wine in hand. Again, just something that you just won't get when it's not wet season. So again, it's all about looking at how to do Australia differently. There's still a lot of artifacts and tools which lie around the Wessel Islands that have been left behind from the Indigenous people as well, which is incredible to see. Incredible seabirds for people who are into bird life, stargazing, storytelling. There's still traditional Indigenous stone fish traps as well, which is really, really rare to be able to see that sort of thing still in Australia. And of course, sunsets like you've never seen before as well.
Wow. And would you say, Lisa, that there's still quite a number of Indigenous who live off the land?
So the Wessel
area?
Islands themselves are uninhabited, but they're still permitted and managed by the Indigenous people who live on closer to East Arnhem Land, where there are people living. Quite often we'll get some of the Indigenous that jump on board to come out and escort us on some of these islands because they're excited. They want to show us something that's just been uncovered, or the weather has blasted some sand away and it's really found something like a shell midden, which is like a preserved hunter-gathering type tool that's almost been like fossilized, that all of a sudden it's been exposed because the winds come or the waters come or whatever, and they want to be able to show it to us. So there are Indigenous people who do still manage the islands because it is their land. They just don't live on there.
Yeah, okay. Wow. That would be such an interesting part of the world. And like you say,
no, you can't.
Really
there is literally no other way, which, makes it so exciting for us.
No, that's right. And I think there's so many other touring companies that wouldn't be able to be granted these permits in the first place
all
upon
of that
application.
Sort of thing comes down to how you support the local communities beyond the tourism scope. Tourism is certainly one thing, but as we all know, tourism can be positive or negative depending on if it's run properly. But it's about beyond the tourism dollar. What can we do to support these communities to be able to be rewarded with the privilege of having these permits? So there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes than what you see within the itinerary when it comes down to making a decision as to who should be granted access or not. So we're very privileged to have that access.
Yeah, so it just comes down to the exclusivity that Crooked Compass offers here in Australia. It's really just that, isn't it? So
and
very
it's amazing. We're so proud to be able to offer these sorts of things to our travellers because it's not something that you can just Google and figure out and do yourself. All of our domestic itineraries are pretty special to us.
Yeah, definitely. Now to scoot over to the bottom part of
in
the country.
Tassie.
What have we got
So
in Tasmania?
Tassie, we've got our Bruny Island and Derwent Valley tour. So a little 6-day tour. And we basically take our own private boat from Hobart across to Bruny Island. So we're not jumping on the ferry with all of the tourists. We're in our own beautiful private boat, which we use for our main mode of transport for the first half of our itinerary. So we do these incredible, spectacular coastal walks while we're on Bruny Island to areas that are only accessible by foot. So we really try and veer away from where the standard day trippers go, and we really go to remote and sites that are exclusive to us. So we're hiking along remote headlands, through rainforest. A lot of people don't even know that there's rainforest on Bruny Island. And then we come to this beautiful private beach where off we go. We wade into the water, and we're ankle deep, and we start shucking oysters straight from the water and eat them fresh while we're standing there with our ankles being lapped by the ocean. So incredible foodie experience for anyone who wants to taste super fresh Bruny Island oysters. And then from there, we continue on to our barefoot luxury glamping site. So we have an amazing chef who's on site waiting for us. And so whilst we don't do the touristy, let's go to the Bruny Island cheese shop and that sort of thing in that sort of main hub of the island, we do taste all that local produce, but at our campsite. So we have the most incredible gourmet meals prepared for us, all made from ingredients of local producers. So yes.
Yum.
And campfire, beautiful, beautiful setting. So we have a couple of days exploring Bruny Island on foot and with all of our camp-made chef-produced meals before we then jump back in our private boat and then head from Bruny Island back up the Derwent Valley, up the Derwent River. So a lot of people don't really actually venture up the Derwent River by boat. A lot of people just venture into the Derwent Valley as a day trip or a half-day trip from Hobart. But we've got a good couple of days here to really get into the soul of the area. There's so much that you just miss if you don't give it the time that it deserves. So we head into an area called New Norfolk, and we've got 2 nights at the beautiful, luxurious Woodbridge Inn. And this is one of Australia's oldest historic houses. So on our first evening, we actually have a storyteller who joins us for drinks and canapes before we dine over sunset, and they share with us all about the colonial and Indigenous history of the area, and in particular centred around Woodbridge, the property that we're staying at. So Woodbridge has quite a fascinating history, and in the cellar or in the basement or whatever you want to call it, the Woodbridge actually has a convict lockup or former convict lockup. And guests generally don't get to go and see this, but we've got exclusive access to take our travellers into the convict lockup.
Wow.
Yeah, it is actually their wine cellar now. And that evening we're doing a degustation dinner with wines from the cellar, which are all from Derwent Valley, to be paired with our meal. So a nice little tie in there. But yeah, pretty exciting that we can go down into the convict lockup. That's something not a lot of people will have had the opportunity to see something like that. And obviously something that's quite significant to our convict past.
Yes.
Before having this incredible meal. The following day, we then go and forage for fruit and vegetables for our own paddock to plate experience, which is incredible. And then we have a hike in Mount Field National Park, which is Tasmania's oldest national park. We have an incredible long lunch and a behind-the-scenes Meet the Winemaker experience at Meadowbank Farm and Vineyard as well. So I guess you could really say that this tour is like an active gourmet foodie type experience.
I love it.
Yeah.
Chasing your stomach around the whole time.
Exactly. And then walking it all off too. So, you know, it kind of
perfect.
evens itself out.
Oh, the only bad thing that you'd be eating would probably be the cheese. But
again, you can walk it off. Yeah. And when on holidays, why not?
No, that's right. Yeah, you're not on holidays every day.
That's right. Very true.
I love it. I think it sounds amazing. And I think Tasmania is one of those destinations where a lot of people haven't yet gone to.
Or they've only done like Hobart and Port Arthur, or just, you know, little sections without delving into it too deeply.
That's right. Or they've probably even just gone to Hobart and they've only just seen Hobart and then they've flown straight out again. But there's so much more to Tassie. And I think I think the oysters would taste a lot fresher if they're direct from Bruny Island, not buying them off the back of a trawler in Hobart. So the Bruny Island
Yeah.
oysters.
Yeah. Well, you can't get them fresher than shucking them yourself, between your ankles. So.
No, that's right. Yeah. Oh, I love that. And what have you got for us over in the wild, wild Western Australia?
In the Wild Wild West. So we really wanted to do Western Australia a little bit differently. We sort of foresaw the vision would be everyone's going to head to the Kimberley. But what we can sort of envisage happening is that the Kimberley is going to be really, really difficult to find availability because there's obviously limited infrastructure there, whether you're doing it by land or by sea. So for us, we were like, well, what else has that true outback wow factor, the colours, everything that the Kimberley delivers that's not the Kimberley. And so we decided to look into the Pilbara and the Coral Coast. So the Pilbara is perfect for those people who have been to the Kimberley, love it, and want to see more of that outback Australia type experience, or also for people who perhaps miss out on the Kimberley over the next couple of years while it's, going to be quite saturated, and this is a fantastic alternative. So the Pilbara is not as, I guess, well known as the Kimberley, but just as beautiful, if not more. It's got some incredible hidden national parks and just incredible sites, which I'll sort of talk you through now. So we start up in Karratha, and then we head up to the Murujuga National Park, where we've got an Indigenous guide for the first half of this itinerary. This is a 10-day tour. And this park, so Murujuga National Park, has the highest concentration of Aboriginal rock art in the world, and it dates back to before the Ice Age ended. So it's around 40,000 years old, and there's over 1 million rock art images.
Oh my gosh, wow.
So many Australians would just never even have heard of it, let alone know that something this phenomenal and that this, significantly historical, these petroglyphs exist. So it's pretty incredible to be able to take our guests up there with our local guide. We do a traditional welcome to country as well whilst we're in this area. And then we head out to the Dampier Archipelago, which are some of the islands off the coast of Karratha and the Pilbara area. So up in the Dampier Archipelago, incredible crystal waters, lots of hidden beaches to go swimming. We can swim with wild turtles, just pristine landscapes. We also visit some incredible sites I mentioned before when I was talking about Arnhem Land's shell middens. So they're like the distinct concentrations of shell, which contains evidence of past Aboriginal hunting and gathering, and the way that they used to process their food and that sort of thing too. So quite fascinating to have that all preserved in an almost like fossilized state. We learn all about traditional bush medicine as well. And the time of year when our tours run, it's also wildflower season. So a lot of people know Western Australia is really well known for its wildflowers. So when our tours run, they're happening in the Pilbara region. So lots of stunning wildflowers, incredible wildlife, explorer history. William Dampier he landed up in this area. And then we sort of head inland. So we head to Millstream Chichester National Park, which is like this oasis in the desert. So you've still got your burnt oranges and reds and those ochre landscapes with these incredible deep gorges, but you've also got these beautiful palm fringed rock pools as well that you can swim in, and it's just stunning. So we have one night camping under the stars here, where we provide all of the camping gear and the equipment. And the reason that we do that, it's just because it is such an iconically Australian experience to be able to camp in the outback. The rest of our trip is all in like proper hotels, 4.5 star. But we just thought that it is just something that you just have to do when you're in this part of Australia where you've got these incredible clear night skies, just the sounds of the wildlife. It's just a must do. So from there, we then head to Karragini National Park, and Karragini is just, it's like everywhere you turn, it's just like a postcard, just picture perfect, stunning swimming holes that we do ensure we've got time to swim in, beautiful gorges, hiking, secret pools, natural springs, stunning waterfalls. It really is one of West Australia's most hidden, incredible hidden gems.
That's right. Because some of these towns, they're kind of ringing bells just with friends that have gone over and worked in the mines.
Yeah. So the Pilbara is a mining region, and that's generally what most people associate it with. But, delve a little bit further, and it really is showcasing some of the country's most beautiful and lesser known gems, which is really what we've aimed to showcase in this itinerary.
That's right. So many little pools to swim in and waterfalls to swim under and gorges to go and explore.
Then we continue on to Balara Station. So we've really tried to mix it up with, diverse experiences in this trip. So we've got hotel stays, we've got the one night camping. We do have, when we're at Karajini, we do spend the night in these beautiful eco glamping tents as well. And then we come to Balara, which is a station stay. So it's actually a working cattle station. And we stay in the traditional shearers lodge there as well too. So we're completely surrounded by stunning scenery, native wildlife. We've got a campfire each night. It really is, nice, simple country life. So this is sort of, we're edging more towards the Coral Coast now. So we're still kind of outback, but this property is so huge that the edge of it actually is the Coral Coast. So it's a pretty impressive place to have that blend of that, wild, dusty outback combined with this like turquoise ocean, just, all on the one bit of land. So we use that as a little bit of our base as we explore the Coral Coast over the next couple of days. So we head out to Coral Bay, where we do a glass bottom boat tour over Ningaloo Reef.
Wow.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful part of our country. And this is the day where anyone who wants to do the swim with the whale sharks, but we can also organise that as well. So,
Yes.
for those people who opt to do the whale sharks, it means you miss out on the glass bottom boat, but that's fine because we have other time at Ningaloo Reef as well for people to still get that marine experience. For the people on the glass bottom boat, we head out to a turtle sanctuary where we learn about the tagging and the conservation efforts of what's happening with the turtles in this part of Western Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And then the following day, we head to Northwest Cape Range National Park. Now, this is right on the coast, and this boasts spectacular rocky gorges carved by ancient rivers. It adjoins the most pristine and beautiful coastline where the Ningaloo Reef is on the Coral Coast. Incredible bird life and wildlife, and it's just beautiful. And then we finish up with snorkeling at Turquoise Bay, which is one of Australia's most pristine beaches. And what's really cool about snorkeling here is the current. So it's actually a drift snorkel. You walk in down one end of the beach, pop your snorkel on, and all you literally need to do is float. And the current will take you over the reef, and you can watch the marine life, the beautiful colours and the turtles and all that sort of stuff literally beneath you without even having to swim. You just float, and then you end up coming out at the other end of the beach. It's amazing.
That's funny. Yeah, I've been up to Turquoise Bay.
Yeah.
I was invited to go and see Salsalis, the eco lodge right there on in the Cape Range National Park. It is so beautiful, and there's just barely anybody around when we went. We went in May.
Okay.
Which is the whale shark season as well, and it's just like you just wonder why everyone flocks over to the Great Barrier Reef.
Yeah, I know. I feel like that Ningaloo is very overlooked.
Yes.
But in a way, that also works to its advantage because
that's right.
It doesn't have the coral bleaching, and it doesn't have, it's so pristine. And yeah, I think it's just very, very underrated for the way that it's promoted, but that's to its advantage of it being protected and that sort of thing as well.
That's right. I love it.
Yeah,
I think it's a great place, and just having the reef pretty much walking distance from the beach. Like,
yes,
the reef is right there. You don't have to be in a boat for an hour.
Yeah, no seasickness.
No,
don't need to battle with any of that. It's literally right there
at your toes on the sand.
Yeah, really. Exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and so then we basically wrap up the tour. We head to Vlemminga Lighthouse, where we do sundowners and nibbles at sunset, and that wraps up the last evening of our tour. So it's a fantastic itinerary to really take in some true contrasts of the Australian landscape and the beautiful wilds that we've got. But yeah, certainly a great option for those people looking to do something a little bit different in Western Australia.
Yeah, I love that all across your different tours, Lisa, how you really do mix things up. So if you're an adventurer, but you quite like having a little bit of luxe with a little bit of outdoors, you've got those options of that hotel and that lodge stay and that, guest house and that tree house and that glamping experience. I just love how you've meshed it all in together into one itinerary. So it's not just a hotel stay, because I think where you're staying into you're actually immersing yourself in the environment that you're in.
Yeah.
By having that accommodation right there. Like, I think it's amazing. And you've got the Aboriginal experiences too. You've got the bonus of having the small group. So it's 8 as a maximum. Is that right?
For that tour, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So our domestic tours are a little bit smaller than our international because obviously we're dealing with social distancing and a few extra requirements that we normally wouldn't have to manage. But it makes it more intimate, more personal.
That's right. And safety first.
Exactly. Passenger health and safety first. Absolutely.
That's right. From a pricing perspective, Lisa, what sort of price point are the tours at currently?
So on average, our Australian-based tours sit around that $1,000 per person per day mark. With the yacht charters we've got, so the East Arnhem Land one I mentioned, we also take that boat up into the Torres Strait. That one is a little bit more expensive, obviously being on board a yacht and fully inclusive where, you're not putting your hand in your pocket at all. That sits closer to the $1,500-$1,700 per person per day mark. But again, you're going to some of the most remote, incredible locations. And it's also so important to point out that, it's $1,000 per person a day for the permits alone to get into some of those areas that we're in. And that is where a huge part of the price point comes from. But that goes directly to the Indigenous communities, which is also so important for people to know that they're making a direct financial impact as well.
That's right. And you mentioned about no additional extras. Is that goes for all of your tours?
No, that's for the two on the yacht charters because you can't just go to the shop and buy whatever you want.
Because there's no shop.
No, that's right. Everything's included, all your drinks and everything. For the other tours, we do include breakfast every day and then the odd lunch and dinner. But they're not all inclusive because in the places where there are options for people to venture and explore themselves, we do allow that flexibility.
That's right, and creating a little bit of their own experience.
Exactly.
As well.
Yeah, and when you travel on a group tour, some people do like to have their own space here and there. So we like to be able to deliver that.
Of course, and keeping in mind as well that the Australian product is also inclusive of GST.
Correct. Yes.
So it is that little bit more expensive, 10%.
Yeah,
to be exact.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't realise that. They don't realise that with international touring product, there is no GST. And that does certainly come into play with domestic travel as well.
Yes, I totally it's worth every single cent. These experiences you would never have.
Oh, I think so too.
If you do them on your own. And especially we were chatting earlier on, Lisa, about how a lot of people tend to wait until their retirement age to go and visit all of these places.
Yes.
But if you're quite an active traveller and you quite enjoy, a moderate level of challenge during your tour, if you're doing some hiking and things like that, sometimes you don't have that level of fitness when you're in retirement age.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, you look at something like the Western Australia tour. So we're going to these incredible locations, but to get to some of those swimming holes and, secret pools and that sort of thing, you've got to hike through uneven terrain that can be rocky or gritty. And it's all great for us to think that we can do our own backyard when we're older because it's close to home. But that potentially means missing out on some of the most incredible experience as well. So it's really looking at it from a different perspective.
And they're so culturally rich too. I love that.
Yeah, we really have tried to do that with every single one of we've got 9 domestic small group tours, and with every single one we've tried to really be respectful and creative with how we've integrated our Indigenous connection to our guests. And I think that what we've put together is it's been done incredibly well and probably to a much deeper level than most other operators.
Yeah, it definitely shows, Lise. You've done an incredible job putting this all together.
Thank you.
It's beautiful, beautiful product. How can other lady travellers out there know more about Crooked Compass and what we can do here in Australia and download some of your itineraries?
Yeah, for sure. Well, number one would be obviously to go to your travel agent. Any travel agent can assist with Crooked Compass products, but obviously yourself, Stephanie, being a travel agent, you're absolutely the number one go-to. But for more further details, you can jump on our website, which is crooked-compass.com. All of our itineraries are available on there. You can download them as PDF itineraries. And any questions you have, you can, of course, chat to your travel agent, or we do have live chat on our website in office hours as well if you want to speak to the team directly.
Yes, and if anyone's got any questions, you can always DM me on Instagram. So travel.by.stephanie. Apologies for all the dots. Leave me a DM with any questions you have, and then I can contact Lisa directly and get the answers from the woman herself.
Exactly.
But thank you so much, Lisa. It's been a wonderful pleasure again to have you back on the show.
No problems. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, loved going through all the itineraries, and you're a really, really great storyteller.
Oh,
I love
thanks.
your stories. Oh, I really felt like I was in a moment a lot there. So yeah,
Good.
fantastic. And I can't wait to see what the Australian tours start doing once they start ramping up. Have you got any more tours for Australia in the mix, or are you sticking with what you've got for the moment?
No, we're sticking with what we've got. We've got a good amount of inventory that we're pretty confident once state borders reopen, we'll probably all run at capacity. So we're in a nice little position with that. And we've got our first trip getting off the ground next month. So that's really exciting after a few false starts with border closures and that sort of thing. But we're getting there.
Yes.
And we're happy with the little suite of domestic tours we've got for the moment. So we'll stick with what we've got and get those moving too. We can always add on more departures if the demand's there too. So
that's right. And just keeping in mind that you have only got limited dates
Correct.
as well. So if you definitely want to jump on any of those tours, to get in touch early, so we can not miss out on the availability, because there's not a lot of spots on each tour.
Yeah, some tours only have one spot left. So it's all about getting in quick. And even if something is full, even just send through your requests, because the more that we know people want our product, the sooner we'll release further dates.
That's right. Perfect. All right then. Thank you, Lise. I really appreciate it.
No problems. Thanks so much, Stephanie.
We'll talk to you
later.
soon. Thanks, Lise.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, Lisa, for your time, and thank you for going through all of those amazing itineraries with us today. Today's show notes are jam-packed with links, resources, and photos to the newly launched Crooked Compass domestic product here in Australia. So head over to travelbystephanie.com.au/24 to download all of those, check them out, and let me know what you think. This product is absolutely incredible. If you're enjoying the podcast so far, I would love it if you left me a 5-star rating and a review over on Apple Podcasts. Also, if you're not yet subscribed, make sure you do so on Apple Podcasts and follow me on Spotify. If you have any questions at all, reach out to me on Instagram. It's travel.by.stephanie, or you can find me over at Unplug in Paradise. If you're tuning into this episode, please screenshot and tag me in your stories. I would love to know what your key takeaways are. If you do have any other questions about today's episode, please do get in touch and I can find out the answers for you. Until next time, take care of yourselves and I'll see you soon. Bye.
And sometimes my mommy just got it. He's a travel agent all day. He works so hard. He's a travel agent and loves me.
If you're reeling from that episode, you're not the only one. Virgin Voyages have done extremely amazing things in the tourism industry, and I'm so stoked to have them as part of the CLIA community as well, which is the Cruise Lines International Association, which I'm a part of as an accredited cruise consultant. I look forward to seeing great things from Virgin Voyages and also getting some clients on board as well. Some key takeaways were in today's episode is that it's adults only, all about the fun, all about the wellness, and all about just being yourself and bringing out that little rebel that's hidden deep inside all of us. and bringing her out to play. If you've enjoyed this episode, head over to travelbystephanie.com.au/25 to catch all the show notes from today's episode. And if you're enjoying the podcast, head over to Apple Podcasts and leave me a 5-star rating and review. And make sure you've subscribed on Apple Podcasts and also followed on Spotify. That's it from me. Have a fantastic day. Bon voyage. And I'll catch up with you over on my socials. See you soon.